Welcome to my views and news. Firstly, a battlefield update for you from Eritrea Tigray border, where Shiraro town was taken by EDF and ENDF around 2 weeks ago. But now some places to the east of Shiraro have also been captured by EDF and Ethiopian National Defense Force. Secondly, an Ethiopian historian, an old man who has been in prison for months, has been released. Thirdly, Dr. Tedros spoke once again today, lashing out at Eritrean and Ethiopian governments. He asked them to stop war without mentioning Tigray forces. And lastly, Clare Daly is an EU member of parliament, very vocal against colonial policies of EU and US. Today she spoke about Horn of Africa, European US policies about the Horn of Africa. What did she say? We have a clip for you. Firstly, viewers, Tigray Eritrea border on Shiraro front and Shire as well. Ethiopian federal forces and Eritrean army have been trying to take control of as much area as possible. They entered Shiraro town, I think around 2 weeks ago. Their capture of Shiraro visually confirmed. We have seen pictures of EDF or ENDF military assets stationed inside Shiraro. And they were seen stationed along the road which connects Shiraro with eastern part of Shiraro with other areas of Tigray. They were seen in the eastern outskirts of Shiraro. Now, it is being confirmed by some sources that some areas to the east of Shiraro have also come under EDF and ENDF control. Though for several days, EDF and ENDF supporters have been claiming that EDF and ENDF had succeeded in reaching close to Shire. But visual confirmation was awaited. Visual confirmation is still awaited. But reportedly, Adioala and Tigray are under EDF and ENDF control. Both are jointly fighting on this front. Eritrean military and ENDF Eritrea never openly admitted its involvement in this fighting on Shiraro front, but both militaries have launched joint offensive on this front, and now Adioala and Tigray taken. It means that areas between Adioala, Tigray and Shiraro and areas to the north of Adioala, Tigray are also under EDF and ENDF control. We have been hearing rumors about Adidaro, that Adidaro has come under EDF, ENDF control, but no confirmation so far. Air strikes, drone strikes are being conducted on Adidaro, near Adidaro as well. It seems that Adidaro is not under EDF, ENDF control. So far, EDF, ENDF advance is mainly to the east of Shiraro, from Shiraro and from Eritrea Tigray border side. So you see that EDF and ENDF are faced with stiff resistance on Eritrea Tigray border. Even for small villages, they have to fight for weeks, and only main gain, territorial gain by EDF and ENDF in Tigray so far is just Shiraro and now some areas to the east of Shiraro, Tigray, Adioala. Government-backed activists have been claiming that Shire was about to fall, Dadebut was under EDF control, ENDF control, Tigray was under siege. you have been hearing, I've been hearing all these rumors too. So these were all rumors. Pro-government activists share tall claims which do not match with the on-the-ground situation, and some TDF-backed sources too, which deny all movement, all military gains of EDF, ENDF in Tigray. Overall, we can sum up that so far EDF, ENDF pace of offensive into Tigray is extremely slow if you compare it with their advance in November 2020. Secondly, viewers, a historian, Ethiopian historian in prison for several months has been released at last. Tadios Tantu was arrested, I think, more than 3 months ago. And he was charged with inciting tensions and violence. He's been critical of the government too. And once he was granted bail, but despite bail order, he was not released. Now reportedly has been released. He was arrested when pro-Fano activists, journalists and Fano fighters were being arrested. Since then, for around 3 months, he has been in prison. I think he's above 70, an old man, but reportedly he has been released from prison. Lastly, viewers, we have 2 clips for you. One shows Dr. Tedros, WHO director, DG, who spoke about Tigray war. He keeps on sharing his views about this war. He is a Tigrayan. He has worked in the past with Tigray People Liberation Front as well. Worked as a health minister in Ethiopia when TPLF was in power, in the form of EPRDF alliance. And he always criticizes Ethiopian and Eritrean government. They are responsible for this war, for this catastrophe in Ethiopia. He once again spoke today and he criticized both the government. He said that the 2 governments can stop the war. They can lift the siege, war will come to an end. Dr. Tedros speaks one-sided. I would say it openly that he never mentions TPLF's excesses, which TPLF fighters, Tigray fighters have committed in Amhara, Afar regions. He only talks about catastrophe in Tigray. I think he should be balanced because he represents WHO. Yes, Tigray is under siege. We also say that. Siege must come to an end. But at the same time, we must not forget that Abergale, parts of Afar, they suffered for months, still suffering. Tens of thousands displaced, killed as well, civilians killed too, women raped too. So all human rights abuses should be condemned. 2 clips for you. One shows Dr. Tedros speaking about how to end the war. And secondly, Clare Daly, EU Member of Parliament, very vocal against EU governments. Today spoke about Horn of Africa. She criticized colonial ambitions, colonial policies of the countries which have their military bases in the Horn of Africa. Watch the 2 clips. Thank you for watching.
So we urge the Eritrean and Ethiopian forces to end the war because they can unilaterally end this war. They can end the siege and they can give peace a chance because this conflict should be resolved peacefully. But whatever conflict there is, punishing civilians collectively, 6 million, is against the international law and it's a crime. So there is no change. It has actually worsened. But not only that, maybe you're following the news. There is daily bombing. including using drones, civilians being attacked in Tigray. The recent one was yesterday. We got the news that more than 60 civilians were killed. And this is a repeated drone attack and air strikes that's killing civilians. And since there is no medicine, in addition to those who are dying, there are many injuries that cannot be saved because there is no medicine. So people are dying because of even minor injuries because of lack of medicine. So this is happening on our watch, more than 23 months now, and more than 6 million people under siege and being collectively punished. And I urge the international community to pay attention and resolve this problem. This is in addition to the call I made to Eritrean and Ethiopian governments to end the war, to end the siege, and choose peace.
I don't think you'd have to be a genius to know that the last thing the Horn of Africa needs is more foreign military bases, more weapons and more European meddling. What we call our strategic relationship isn't about human flourishing, it's about the EU's ambitions as a superpower. There's now a new great game in the Horn of Africa. Greater and lesser powers are pockmarking the place with military bases. France, the US, China, Germany, Japan, Italy, Saudi Arabia all have a presence in the tiny area of Djibouti alone. Mercenaries are swarming in from all quarters. The entire region is being militarised. War is in the air. And what about the people facing climate and food insecurity? None of this benefits them. We talk about instability, but we only make it worse. We flood the place with weapons, hand over the profits to European arms companies and charge the bill to our citizens. And then with the carnage, we go back in and we do it all again. It's a racket. Strategic relationship, it's one thing after another, isn't it? Really, it's the same as it ever was. And all I can say is, God save Africa from Europeans offering help.